everybody. This is the Sooner Weekly Matchup Show, and I don't know if you remember the 1990s rock group Warrant, but in the early 90s they had a song called I Saw Red. Why am I bringing this up? Because this Saturday, October 1st at Gaylord Memorial Stadium in Norman, whether you have tickets for this game or you're going to watch it on pay-per-view, highly doubt you're going to see that particular band, but you will see a lot of red. That's because it's Oklahoma taking on Ball State. And notice the early evening kickoff time, 6 o'clock, and once again the game will be on pay-per-view, which means you have to shell out $39.95 of your hard-earned money during these, as President Obama might say, tough economic times. If you can't watch the game, of course, radio is free. Toby Rowland, Merv Johnson on the call on the Sooner Radio Network. Before we talk about Ball State and Oklahoma, which, by the way, the Sooners 38-point favorites to pace the Cardinals. No wonder this game's going to be on pay-per-view. Advertisers don't want to touch it. But before we talk about Ball State, as well as my 4 keys to this game, first of all, follow up from the Missouri video. And of course, Sooners struggled in that game early, but got their mojo on and ended up winning 38-28, thus remaining unbeaten. Ben Haber, unfortunately, the starting center, is going to miss some time because of an injury he suffered in that game. Broken right forearm. They're saying 6 to 8 weeks. And if he does come back earlier than normal, don't be surprised if he plays at a guard position. That's because from his center position, could be a little bit difficult if you're coming back earlier than normal from a big injury like this. That's because he's going to be wearing a cast on that forearm, and I believe that's the same forearm he uses for the snapping motion while at center. So for right now, Gabe Eichert will move from guard to center, and then you'll have Tyler Evans as well as Stephen Good at the guard positions. So that's the laydown right now. Trey Franks, unfortunately, still will not be seeing any action. The wide receiver still suspended indefinitely. Bob Stoops made that clear Tuesday during his weekly press conference. No timetable on Trey Franks' return. Kenny Stills, you might remember, did not play this past Saturday. That's because of concussion issues. Effects from that concussion that he sustained on September 17th in that game against Florida State. Practiced last week, but the coaches, the doctors did not feel comfortable because I guess he was still, I guess it was like aftershocks or symptoms from that concussion from Florida State. They did not want to risk it, and therefore it was precautionary for Stills not to play against Missouri. So no word yet when he's going to come back or if he's going to come back for the Ball State game. Of course, the big one's Texas on October the 8th. I would be very surprised if you don't see Kenny Stills for the Texas game, but may or may not play for Ball State because OU's expected to win and win lopsidedly. Well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Ball State Cardinals, and you know, they're doing a little bit better than I thought. I mentioned in the Missouri post game, I didn't think Ball State was going to win 3 games all year long, and neither did a lot of people. But they've already won 3, beating Buffalo as well as Indiana, spoiling Kevin Wilson's debut as head coach of the Hoosiers. And just recently, despite being a slight underdog against Army, they whipped up on the Black Knights and scored a lot of points doing it. And they're doing this with a lot of young talent. Remember, this is a program that just 3 years ago had a 12-0 regular season back in 2008, back when Brady Hoke, the current Michigan head coach, was coaching the Cardinals. That year, though, Ball State lost the MAC championship game. They were upset by Buffalo, who was coached at that time by current Kansas head coach Turner Gill. And then the GMAC Bowl, Tulsa just whipped up on Ball State. So Ball State that year went 12-2. Stan Parrish ended up being the head coach of the Cardinals in 2009-2010 after Hoke went to San Diego State. And it was rough times for the Cardinals those 2 seasons. They won just 4 ball games last year, 2 games the year before that. Parrish was fired, and now you bring in Pete Lembo. And so far, these players, these young players, are really adapting to this particular guy. In particular, the quarterback Keith Winning completed 72% of his passes up to this point. 7 TD passes, no interceptions. So he's done a lot better than expected. And then their leading rusher and leading receiver, both freshmen, Juwan Edwards as well as Willie Snead, running back and wide receiver respectively. So Ball State, it's going to be a balanced offense defensively, 4 down linemen, and you'll see a lot of cover 4. Time to time they're going to blitz, but it's going to be a defense. I don't know how many chances they're going to take against Oklahoma. And this is not going to be a Ball State, you know, I don't like Ball State, or, you know what, they shouldn't be on the same field with Oklahoma. I'm not going to say that. I know why games like this are scheduled. Typically you do it because for Oklahoma, they need a game like this to get ready for Texas. And also due to the fact that, you know, Ball State needs a big paycheck, which they'll be guaranteed to come down to Norman. So I don't want to make this a Ball State bash fest. But here's the bottom line. Ball State has not played a team like Oklahoma all year long. Not with their strength, speed, depth, coaching. By the way, you're playing this game at a place where nobody has won since 2005. 38-game home winning streak, longest currently in all of college football. It would be an awful lot to ask Ball State to make this a competitive game throughout. They're just simply outmatched. It is. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? And again, I give Ball State credit for doing what they've done so far, but that was against Buffalo, and that was against Indiana, and that was against Army. A little bit different when you're playing the #1 or #2, depending on what poll you look at, team in the country, and you're playing them in their backyard. So the question isn't whether Oklahoma is going to win easily, but whether or not they're going to cover that 38-point spread, which I'll give my prediction at the end of the show. Time now for me to highlight these 4 keys to the game. Key #1 for Oklahoma, running back distribution. If there was ever one game where Roy Finch was going to get plenty of touches, this has to be the game. Dominic Whaley's done a terrific job. Same for Brennan Clay. Roy Finch, though, despite not being as complete a back as Whaley, is still your back that's going to give you your best shot at a big play. So maybe this is a game where we see Finch carry the ball more than he has more than he has up to this point, which has been very seldom. So this is the one game where maybe we could see that. Despite the fact that Ball State won big last week and didn't give up any passing yardage, they gave up over 400 yards rushing against Army, and I would look for Ball State to struggle in trying to stop the Sooner running game. Key #2, QB pressure. It's that simple. So far, Winning has done a good job for Ball State, but hasn't gone against a defense like this. Frank Alexander from his defensive end spot is having a marvelous year, primarily because he's finally healthy, and Ronald Lewis has contributed too. So those guys really have to bring the heat to Keith Wedding, because so far Wedding has completed over 70% of his passes. That can't happen in this game. #3, put the issue aside early, meaning have this game put away no later than the mid part of the 3rd quarter. That way Landry Jones, Ryan Broyles, Whaley, and some of your defensive starters, you can put them on the sideline, get them rested, avoid further, any chance of injury, get them on the sideline, get them ready for Texas, and get your reserves plenty of playing time. And then key #4 to this game, play disciplined ball, talking about limiting penalties, which so far the Sooners have done a terrific job in doing, but it's games like this that can create bad habits because could be pretty big and could be pretty big early, and therefore maybe you get out of your realm of discipline. Sometimes when you lead pretty big, you let off the gas a little bit. So those little things, avoid those legal procedures, the holdings, personal fouls, stuff like that. So far the Sooners have done a marvelous job. Keep it up. Final thoughts on this game. One more time, Ball State, you've surpassed my expectations so far during the month of September, but now this is when you collect your big paycheck, and for 3.5 hours, subject to, as the guy from Miami might say in that 30 for 30 special to you, it's going to be a beatdown. Oklahoma 55, Ball State 14, that's my prediction. I have the Sooners winning and covering the spread. And then after Saturday, we can talk about the Red River shootout between the Sooners and the Longhorns. Again, I got the Sooners winning and winning comfortably and covering that 38-point spread. My post-game show should be very early on Sunday morning. That's it for now. Boomer Sooner.